That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I am Sid Part 2, and I'm all by myself today. We got a decent sized stack of comics today, so we'll see how quickly this video goes. I'm not sure how much I have to say about any of these issues. A lot of them they're just starting stuff off or kind of continuing things, and so I'm not really sure what I'll have to say. I've noticed that a lot of my thoughts tend to be towards the end of a story arc than really the beginning or middle, so we'll just see how it goes. Let's go ahead and start off with the last thing I read, which is Legend of Wonder Woman number 2. I really want to thank the creators of this book for just tweeting the shit out of my review of the first issue. They really were happy to hear what I thought about it, and I was really happy that they heard them. So it was a much more positive experience with me talking about something that someone created and them finding that thing and sharing their thoughts with it. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the book itself. So Legend of Wonder Woman, this has, as I was suspecting, a major time jump in it. We do start off with girl Diana, and she is a girl through probably a good half of the book, or at least a fourth. We're first time we see adult Diana, we're this far into the book, this far left, so I'd say a good fourth, maybe. Oh no, half-ish. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's here. It's a good size book. A couple pages before the staple page is when we have like our first glimpse of an adult Diana. And there's a lot of politics going on in this, and I didn't really expect that. I mean, Amazon's pretty much always just honor and duty to the queen, and there'll occasionally be stuff about Diana needing to fill in for her mother, not being good enough, but rarely Amazon's, conniving for power amongst themselves. So I'm not going to really explain all the politics, because it's pretty complicated, all things considered. But what I will say is, while I like where the plot is going, I don't love how we're getting there again. One of the things that Wonder Woman tends to fall into, that a lot of things that deal with Greek mythology tend to fall into, is they kind of default to Ares and Hades being the bad guys. And again, you'll hear me talk about the Azzarello run and how much I love it, and whenever I talk about Wonder Woman from now on, because it did a lot of things right that people don't give it credit for. They focus on the origin, and you're allowed to be angry about that. It's an alternate universe thing, though, so, just something you're going to have to deal with. Just look at it. If you don't like it, look at it as an Elseworlds tale. There. Anyway, so the thing is, though, a lot of people will default to Hades and Ares being the bad guys. God of War did this. The Disney Hercules movie did this. Clash of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans had them both. And you'll see Wonder Woman do that a lot. Ares was a major villain in Wonder Woman stuff for a long time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's not really the roles those characters in the original mythos filled. And so it is always a little irksome, because it makes Wonder Woman more of a modern hero than it does that bridge between classical mythology and modern mythology. Poseidon is really more of a villain, a bad guy kind of thing than Ares or Hades was. Hades had a story here and there where he would occasionally show up, and there are even some versions of stories with him where he's kind of a conniving, really clever guy that ends up screwing people over. But he was never really the villain or some kind of, everyone wants to put Hades in the same role as Lucifer, and they're really not the same thing. And Ares, too. Ares, yes, he was the god of war, but he was more, perhaps a more apt title would be the god of Berserker, or the god of blood rage. Just that that mentality that you get into on the battlefield of just being bloodthirsty, being, that was Ares working through you, was the original idea, the original conception of Ares. And so he didn't show up in the myths very often, and when he did, he was never like a villain. He was kind of just a dumb brute. There's a point in one of the stories about Hephaestus. Hephaestus, the god of the smiths, he was married to Aphrodite, but she didn't have much interest in him and was much more interested in Ares because, oh my god, he is so hot. That's hot with a W-A-T. That was pretty much Aphrodite's attitude towards Ares, and so she was very interested in pursuing a sexual relationship with Ares and not with Hephaestus. And Hephaestus was aware of this, so he rigged a trap wherein anyone that tried to have sex with his wife would get caught up in some kind of rigging or whatever. And that happened to Ares, and Ares was caught up in some rigging, and Apollo and Hermes are there watching, and Apollo's like, what price would you pay to sleep with Aphrodite, as they're kind of laughing at Ares. And Hermes says, all the gods and the goddesses could look at me stark naked if I got to spend one evening with the goddess Aphrodite. So that was just kind of Ares, it was in that story and he was involved in that story, but he isn't a villain or a bad guy. He's kind of just the butt of a joke. So it is always a little distracting to me, and I know I'm spending way too much time on this, but it does always kind of bother me that those two get kind of looped into this villainous role when we're trying to tell stories with Greek mythology, particularly with Wonder Woman. The gods are not nice as is. I don't know why there's a need to villainize two guys who are, ultimately speaking, rather unimportant. Hades, all things considered, kind of a good guy of all the gods. There are worse people. I know he raped Persephone, but there are worse people when we look at gods, especially Zeus. Zeus, much more of a bad guy than Hades. So, I don't know, I always get kind of bothered when I see those two villainized, but I guess it's just something I have to deal with. So that part of this, that they're kind of assisting in the overthrowing of Hippolyta and all the subterfuge, that kind of bothers me. But how the story is utilizing it is well done. I didn't notice this last time. There was totally Amazon's riding kangaroos in the last issue. Good on them for that one. I will agree with Superhero Enthusiast. I miss Amazon's riding kangaroos from the Golden Age. We need more of that. But we get some interesting character dynamics. There's a lot of dialogue in this. I mean, just look at some of these balloons here. And that's one of the shorter exchanges. We get Steve Trevor in this issue. His plane crashes, and we don't even know it's a plane yet, which is kind of clever. We can vaguely make out maybe the shape of a propeller, so I don't know if this is going to be World War II era, or if this is going to be, modernized era Wonder Woman once it gets going. Don't tell me, since I know it's digital first, don't tell me. We get Steve Trevor crashing. That's kind of cool. And what else is it? Yeah, I mean, look at all... Another complaint I guess I will have is it gets really exposition-y right here. Really exposition-y when the villain's kind of going off on their thing. It's two villains talking to each other, and one's kind of a reluctant villain. And that's fine to kind of explain the seriousness and the weight of their plan, but... At the same time, there's better ways to do it than wall of exposition. I like this. It's a really subtle touch, but as Steve Trevor wakes up, Diana starts speaking to him, and you won't be able to see it for shit, so I'll just try my best to describe it. The word bubble that she's speaking to him, at first the alphabet is in ancient Greek, and then there's parenthesis, and it's in an orangish color, and then there's parenthesis in black and letters in black that are in English. And as the orangish letters fade out, and then it has a little asterisk translated from ancient Greek. I really like that. That's just, I've seen obviously translated from blah blah language, but I don't think I've seen them fade it like they do here, and I really like the way that looks. Yeah, I thought that was a nice, cool little touch as a reader. Yeah, a lot of dialogue in this. It is really Game of Thronesy. So that being said, a little more action wouldn't hurt. But this seems to be the meat of where our whole plot is getting set up and going. The problems with the island are being revealed. Or no, the problems with the island have not been revealed. The subterfuge is not the cause of it, but is a reaction to it. So yeah, that's neat. I don't know how much I have to say about it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I know I complained more in this than I have good to say about it, but it's just a lot of background of what's going on. There's not a ton of symbolic stuff. There's some great scenes, though, particularly with Hippolyta kind of laying this gigantic weight on Diana's shoulders. I really like that interaction, and how that kind of leads her to Steve Trevor is really cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Just great stuff. Pegasus shows up. Pegasus is cool. I like Pegasus. I hope Pegasus ends up in the Wonder Woman movie. That would be nice. Yeah. Cool beans. Recommend picking this up. The first 2 issues are out in print, and you should, I imagine, be able to download. Maybe even the whole story will be done by this point, or at least the majority of it, because I think it was 3 issues in last time, so I imagine a good chunk of it's got to be out. So hopefully you can get that online if you're a digital comics person. But I'm not a digital comics person because I couldn't just hold an iPad up to the camera like that. That would be weird. It wouldn't look good at all. Let's go ahead and move on to Doctor Who, the 10th Doctor, number 6. Yay, Gabby drawing for a cover. I love it. Bad Wolf. You got lots of cute stuff here. This is a problematic way of telling a story. It would certainly help if I was reading this collected, but I'm not. So 2 issues ago, we had the group get separated and Jack Harkness shows up. And it took me a while to remember that. But here we're kind of picking up their story. Because the last 2 issues were about, the Doctor and Gabby hanging out with the caveman and doing their thing. And it was like a completed story. It just would have helped to cut back to this stuff somewhere in that. And they did not. And that's a problem. It makes it very hard to keep up with. Anyway, Jack Harkness is here. I love Jack Harkness. Yay, pansexual Jesus figure. I don't know how much I really have to say about this issue, though. They're all of the group, Jack and, what's her name? Shit. God damn it, why can't I ever remember names? Not Gabby, what's her? Cindy. Jack and Cindy are kind of separated and they're hanging out, but they all have, they don't have their memories, but they know that they're looking for something. They know vaguely what they were, that they've been separated and that they're looking for some person. And Cleo's there still. She's been around a long time. So they're all, the majority of the first half of this is just their journey looking for the Doctor. And then they run into the Doctor, and there's kind of a weird little fight scene, but everybody snaps out of it, and it's okay. And then, what's her name? Oh, come on, Ian. Ebonite. And this was the person that, if I'm remembering correctly split them apart. And she's apparently working with a Monoxy, and it's Doctor Who, it's all complicated. She shows up, kind of explains what's going on and how everyone's been separated and taken apart and blah blah blah. And then at the end, Gabby is evil, because last issue, the Monoxy kind of pulled them into this side, so I guess they kind of took over Gabby. So it's in typical Doctor Who fashion, it's damn confusing. I might have to go back and reread some of the other issues where this all started in order to get my head around it, but we'll see. God, I feel bad not having much to say about issues, but I don't have much to say about this issue. It is all plot. There is no commentary, no insights into the Doctor's or anyone else's character whatsoever. It is 100% plot. And that's fine, because I'm curious where this story is going. But without summarizing every last detail of the plot, I don't have much to tell you. It's all plot. Darth Vader, number 16. I fucking love how this issue opens. Not the... Better... Kieran Gillen, or however I say that name, is better at writing these, but not perfect. No, but... Okay, so... Ron Coruscant. In the Emperor's palace or whatever. And the Emperor's all like, "Ah, Lord Vader, you bring me tribute? A present? How considerate." And it's like a weird coffin-y looking thing. "You have been seeking Commander Carbon," Vader says. And then Force opens this casket thing. And then there's an ad. Very well-placed ad. "I have found you." And Carbon just drops out, dead. And Palpatine looks at him. And he's like, "Are these lightsaber wounds, Vader? You wish me to prove myself, Master. Give me a fight worthy of my time." Oh, it's just so fucking cool. Like, these two are at each other's throats right now. I fucking love it. Palpatine is 10 kinds of pissed off at Vader for fucking up with not being able to save the Death Star. Vader is trying his best to prove himself, but he shouldn't have to and everything. And they're just like, they're both, and so Palpatine's looking for a replacement. Vader's saying, "No, you fucking need me to run this shit, and you know it." And so he just throws, "Here, you were looking for a replacement? Here's your fucking replacement, this piece of garbage that I cut up with my goddamn lightsaber, bitch." Oh, that was brilliant. I don't like this last little panel of the Emperor. It's just not a very good drawing, I think. I don't know. It kind of looks too Crypt Keeper-y. And just where they're putting these titles. Oh man, this book opens so strong. I love seeing Vader and the Emperor talk. So this actually picks up from the annual. The Darth Vader annual we had a couple issues back. Months back, whatever. Back in, I guess, January. And in that, he helped, like a low-ranking member of a ruling family on this planet. He executed her entire family and installed her as the leader because she would then have to be loyal to the Empire. And if she wasn't, the whole fucking planet would explode. So she's loyal to the Empire now, but her people are still rebelling. The aristocrats basically are still rebelling, so he's there to crush him. And he leads an assault on this just gigantic-looking war machine refinery thing. And she's all like, we don't have the power to lead a direct assault. And Vader's been forced to team up with one of these guys the Emperor's trying to replace him with. And he's like, you are correct. Report. Are you ready? He's like, all is well. The sentries are in place, primed and ready for your order. And he's like, now. And the fucking ceiling of this place collapses since they're underground. It collapses and just fucking lava pours all over this gigantic machine. She's like, that thing was around for hundreds of years and it'll never work again. He's like, and Vader goes, it will never rebel again. Just fucking awesome. So she's trying to hold on to power and deal with Vader, and just everything's going wrong for this woman, and he just cannot give a fuck. Vader's just a cold son of a bitch, and I love it. And at the end, he sets up, transmission with some bounty hunters, and is going to send them after Dr. Aphra. Since she was captured by Han Solo, and the last time he talked with her, it seemed that she had sent him into a trap. So he sends a bunch of bounty hunters to go get her, and there they go, dead or alive, and he's like, it does not matter to me. Absolutely fantastic. Love this book right now. Just, oh my god, everything's so awesome about this. Yeah. Good shit. Good shit. I don't know, what else do you want me to say? We're starting off this new story as Vader's dealing with rebels and still trying to do subterfuge behind the Emperor's back. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. Let's go ahead and go on to DC Comics Bombshells, Loose Lips Sink Ships. Issue number 9 here. So, I turned Superhero Enthusiast onto this book because Communist Supergirl. That should have been enough. And he really liked it at first, but then there's kind of a turn-off toward the whole, the cliche of, the Soviet Union secretly evil kind of thing. To be fair, America's been shown to be secretly evil in this book as well, so, or at least have secretly evil people working with them, which you could certainly say the same for the Soviet Union in this book thus far of what we've seen. And so last issue, Courtney, depending on the language in which you're pronouncing it, I'm going to go with Courtney since I don't know Russian. Russian pronunciation, at least. Or Russian, for that matter. I don't know why I felt the need to clarify that. Neither of those things do I know. So Courtney is kind of with her biological father, who's this wartime industrialist that's, this weapons manufacturer. And he's really excited to have her and everything, but she's like, no, I can tell Kara's in trouble and I must go save her. And he's like, no, you can't. I can't lose you again. So he sees her as, this weak little girl, and he puts her in this, what she later calls a pink prison. Where it's just like, it looks like a child's room. It's got, teddy bears and pink beds, but it's got bars in the windows. And I'm going to go through each person's story. I'm going to start with hers because I found it the most compelling. So she escapes, and Edward Nygma's been working for her father, deconstructing and reconstructing weapons from various fractions within the war. Fractions or factions? Factions. Anyway, so she fights off Edward Nygma and tells her biological father to go stuff it because he doesn't understand what real family is. And she goes off to go fight with her sister and Mira again. And so there is, like, you have this symbol of industrialization and capitalism and stuff that, oh, you really belong to this, and this will be your happy, perfect life. And she goes, well, this doesn't care about who I am, where I'm from, or my family, the things that actually matter. And she goes to fight for that. So I don't think that it's necessarily anti-capitalist or pro-communist or anything, or anti-communist, pro-capitalist. I think it's going for something a little more deeper, a little more human than a political outlook, which I found interesting. Because, I kind of saw that with the second issue, that they were going to treat the Red Army a little more, typically than I thought they initially were. But this kind of turned that around for me, and I think they're kind of just going for, because we had that issue back in Gotham with the Batgirls, and now we have this issue. And it seems that they're kind of going for a more human issue rather than picking one side or another of Cold War politics. So let's go ahead and take that and go on to Mira. Mira fights off that squid thing from the last issue that is attacking the ship. And in doing so loses a piece of herself, we find out. And that means, I think, her connection with animals. With sea creatures. I don't think she's able to communicate with them anymore as a consequence of that. And she barely survives the encounter of the battle. Supergirl is able to save it at the last minute. So that's that whole section of the story. And that's interesting too. I don't want to read too deep into it, but there is a little bit of a commentary there in the idea that you lose part of yourself in war. I don't know how intentional that is. I think that you have to be kind of aware of that idea if you're going to make a story arc like that, or an event like that happen to a character, but I'm not sure how aware the writer is that they might be making that point. It's subtle enough that I'm not sure if it was accidental. And then we have Wonder Woman, who's fighting the Baroness, the leader of the Tenebar. Is that how you say it? Tenebar. Tenebrae. So however you say that. You have Wonder Woman who's fighting her and dealing with just the act of trying to... It's Wonder Woman versus zombies with the subtext of peace through submission and how costly death is in war. For as much as I'd wanted more Wonder Woman stuff, I was a little disappointed we didn't get more Wonder Woman stuff. I was disappointed that this is the Wonder Woman stuff we're getting, because I was enjoying it much more. God knows what's up with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy right now. Last we heard from them was quite a while ago, around Christmas. So yeah, they're kind of... It's just Wonder Woman fighting the Baroness, and we find out what the Tenebar want. They struck a deal with the Nazis that the Nazis will control the surface world and the Tenebar will take over the underworld. Which is fine. That's... I always like stuff with Nazis, leaguing up with satanic forces. That's neat. Yeah. There's not much to say about it. It's just kind of a thing that happened with Wonder Woman. The really interesting stuff was with Stargirl this issue. She has the biggest character arc in this, and Supergirl through her. Because they were both worrying about stuff. And symbolically, as soon as Courtney comes back to Supergirl, and Mira, Supergirl calls her Courtney with the Russian pronunciation, and she says, "You said it right this time." And so there's that kind of like, bond reignited with them when they're both fearful that they might not, be sisters anymore. Good shit. Really, really liking this book. Little meandery in places, kind of just waiting for stuff to happen or waiting to get back to the stories I'm really interested in. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I was a little disappointed with the Wonder Woman stuff. Steve Trevor at one point picks up a gun and starts shooting at the Tenebar. And that bothered me because so much of his thing has been that he's he's suffering from PTSD, so that happens just a little too quick in my mind. I don't know. Like, it's certainly he needs to help, and it's good to see him trying his best to help out, but I was just a little disappointed that they didn't deal more with his character arc, but that's okay. Maybe it'll get into it since Wonder Woman and he seem to be trying to escape at the last minute from the Horde. Alright, and for anyone that has read this issue, that is Batman number 49. Go read the Batman stuff that was going on during Final Crisis. Until next time, everyone, I'll be reviewing whatever I feel like reviewing. If there's no trade talk this week, but if you'd like to hear my thoughts as well as superhero enthusiast Connor Nielsen's and Steve Baxley's thoughts on the Django Zorro crossover that came out toward the end of last year, you can find that. I'll put a link to it in the description. We did a discussion on that story arc, or on that crossover. It's really good. That was that last week's episode of Geeky Gentlemen, so excuse me. So you can go check that out, and I hope you enjoy. If you have any suggestions for things for me to pick up, whether that be trades or single issues, please leave those in the comments below as well, and I will do my best to get a hold of them. If it's a single issue, I promise to read at least one issue, and if I like it enough, I'll add it to my pull list. If it's an ongoing, you know what I mean. If it's a trade or a graphic novel, I'll keep my eyes open, and if I see it, I will buy it right up. Anyway, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Till next time.